it does lead us to the third critical choice. And the third critical choice I made was to build trust in myself. I had to build trust in myself in order to inspire the trust of others. And I feel like what you just articulated with conditions of satisfaction and language around commitment and even choice around, there's got to be so much trust in that. You're like trusting each other and you're trusting yourself. So that's why I thought it weaved right in.
Yeah.
But I do want to step back because I want to know, when is a time that you had to build trust in yourself? Will you share that with us? And then if you can put words to how you did it, or one or two things that you did to help build trust in Rick, in yourself.
Wow. Yeah. That's another one of these profound questions. And it seems simple on the, the first level is simple, but it's quite profound. I lost confidence in myself. I was probably supremely confident, and that was probably not good. Let me just say that for a chunk of my early career. The part of this story, I launched this .com company. I never actually launched it during .com days. I did it before that. And I never wanted the .com experience. It just sort of happened around us. But it doesn't matter. We were victims of the .com bomb. And that led me to a pretty dark place where I decided I totally failed. Like I missed it. And I was not seeing things for what they are, not seeing people and understanding them for who their authentic selves actually became versus what I thought. And it had levels of lack of confidence and trust. And so, I think that I'd have to credit my family more than anything else for believing in me before I did again, because it took me some time I'd love to tell you that the .com bomb happened and I just got back on that horse and ride. They say, get back on that horse and ride. It's like, yeah, no, that for some people, maybe that is it.
Even being from New Mexico, you couldn't get right back on that horse.
I couldn't, but I felt resilience in family, and I felt like obligation to my family. I grew up in such a strong, committed family environment. I think I kind of credit that belief. I remember having this chat with one of my very best friends and when we were talking about values and enduring values, things that matter a lot to us, and how do we identify ourselves. And this was around that period of time. And I said, well, the number one thing that I'm always going to be, and I'm never, ever going to sacrifice, is a great dad and spouse, but a great dad. Like, I will never allow myself to have a moment where my kids thought I wasn't connected and checked in, right? And interestingly, Trish, I think that led me forward, because then I realized they've got to go to school, they're going to go to college, I've got to get going. And as I began to say, well, things actually aren't bad. Actually, I have a lot of skills. Okay, I can do this, I can do that. I built back confidence because I saw the value in family as so inviolate for me, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how to describe it.
No, you just did. Oh my God. And you just did. And the nugget that I'll take is the choice of being a great dad, which was instilled in you because of your family and growing up and your mom and dad, but still, it was still your choice. And I love that story because it transcends the singular, almost self-oriented version of when we fail, when something does not work the way we intended it to. It's very easy to stay in that self-oriented bubble of not trusting ourselves to keep going. And you're like, listen, I have to. Yeah. And you did amazingly.
Yeah.
I want to flip it to you are an incredible leader. Like you also downplay, which is one of the things that I think is so endearing about you, your professional success and your leadership. As a leader at your firm, I want to know how people inspire your trust.
How they inspire my trust.
How does someone earn your trust?
Well, a couple, I think, things come to mind that they're really important to me. One is ability. I'll speak first about, let's say, some people who are more peers, like people
Right?
we're suffering together to run a program or sell a thing or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say the ability to willingness to be vulnerable is to say, I really am not sure about this. I know you've done this, but I haven't, or vice versa. And where we're going is I'm a little underwater here, or it could be positive too, but but just the ability to be vulnerable, because once you're there, then you can work with something, and clearly that marks trust, right? Somebody was willing to say that to me and be in a trust relationship with me. I want to honor that. Like I'm a sucker for that. I'll always honor that. That to me is really very powerful. I would say I'm kind of back to the language of commitments. I actually really do like it. And so if somebody says I'm going to do X by Y time, then that is pretty key to trust, especially if that has to do with somebody else. In other words, I promise I'm going to work with so-and-so who's sinking a little bit on the project to make sure that things go okay and they feel confident again, or something like, you know what I mean? Especially if it's about pulling up somebody on the team, because then if that doesn't happen, it has a domino effect, and it actually affects the human beings who were expecting some help and didn't get it. Yeah. So I think things like that tend to be really important in inspiring trust.
I sometimes dive into, with teams, two of the things you were just talking about, the authenticity, but also language of commitment. You said earlier, when you don't have a commitment to language of commitment, things can live in the ether. Yeah. And it's hard to build trust, or it's easy to lose trust if you haven't created the right expectations, because you haven't communicated to understand, which goes all the way back to your two-way agreement. And just, if we can just take more time in order to verbalize and listen, such that there is a clear understanding of the expectations between the two, then that elevates trust.
Oh my God, so true. That is 1,000% correct.
But we're so fast to go, well, whatever. That will be like Rick and Trish part 2. That will be Rick and Trish part 2, because we can keep going there. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast. Or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.